10:31 a.m. The Taiwan Strait, 41 miles west of the Taiwanese coastline. The sky overcast at 8,000 feet, a flat gray ceiling that compressed the horizon and turned the strait into a gray-green corridor between two coastlines. The light flat and shadowless. The sea running a long, slow swell from the northeast. Commercial air traffic overhead was sparse. The major carriers had been avoiding the strait's airspace since the PLA's live-fire exercises of the previous week had generated NOTAMs across 5 flight information regions. The water was cold and deep and gave nothing away about what was moving beneath it or what was about to arrive from above. USS Ronald Reagan, CVN-76, 133,000 tons of nuclear-powered aircraft carrier, 333 meters from bow to stern, carrying 75 combat aircraft on her flight deck and in her hangars, 4 catapults capable of launching 1 aircraft every 20 seconds, a crew of 5,100. She was transiting northbound through the Taiwan Strait at 18 knots in execution of a freedom of navigation operation that had been planned, coordinated, and publicly announced 48 hours in advance. A deliberate, unambiguous signal of American commitment to the principle that international waters remain international waters regardless of who claims them. She was not alone. Her strike group was arrayed around her in standard carrier battle group formation. USS Chancellorsville on the forward arc, providing Aegis air defense coverage. USS Wayne E. Meyer and USS Chaffee on the port and starboard flanks. USS Antietam positioned 12 miles astern. 14 surface combatants in total, their combined VLS capacity exceeding 1,100 cells. Their interlocked cooperative engagement capability network, forming the most dense and capable integrated air defense architecture afloat anywhere on Earth. Above them, 2 E-2D advanced Hawkeyes from carrier Air Wing 5 orbited at 22,000 feet. Their APY-9 radars sweeping 400 miles of airspace in every direction, tracking everything that moved. In Beijing, the Central Military Commission had been meeting for 61 hours. The decision that had been deliberated, debated, revised, walked back, and ultimately reauthorized at the level of the chairman himself, was now executing. The freedom of navigation operation through the Taiwan Strait was, in the CMC's formal assessment, an act of deliberate provocation. It was also, in the same assessment, an opportunity. The Reagans' announced transit route placed her in the strait's narrowest point at 10:31 a.m., directly within the engagement envelope of the PLA Rocket Force's DF-21D anti-ship ballistic missile batteries, the weapon the Chinese military planners had spent 15 years developing specifically to hold American carrier strike groups at risk in exactly this geographic location. The DF-21D, the carrier killer, a medium-range ballistic missile with a maneuvering re-entry vehicle warhead designed to home on the radar and electromagnetic signature of a carrier deck at sea, range exceeding 1,500 kilometers. Maneuvering terminal phase designed to defeat the SM-3's upper-tier intercept geometry. A warhead assessed, by Chinese military publications and by Western defense analysts alike, as capable of producing catastrophic damage to a carrier deck if it achieved its intended impact point. The CMC had authorized a salvo of 12 DF-21Ds against USS Ronald Reagan from 3 separate DF-21D brigade firing positions in Fujian and Zhejiang province, simultaneously, to exploit the defensive distraction created by the ballistic missile salvo. The Eastern Theater Command had been authorized to commit its surface fleet, 18 warships including 2 Type 055 guided missile cruisers, the Nanchang and the Lhasa, and 8 Type 052D guided missile destroyers plus supporting frigates were already at sea in a battle line formation southwest of the strait, their YJ-18 anti-ship missiles targeted on the Reagan strike group. A second strike axis would arrive from the north. 2 PLA Naval Air Force regiments of JH-7A strike aircraft carrying YJ-83 anti-ship missiles staging from Lianshan Air Base in Fujian, turning south over the strait on a coordinated inbound profile. 12 DF-21D ballistic missiles from above, 18 warships with YJ-18 missiles from the southwest, 2 strike aircraft regiments with YJ-83 missiles from the north, all timed to arrive in a compressed 60-second window designed to overwhelm the strike group's defensive capacity through simultaneous multi-axis saturation. The CMC had calculated that no carrier strike group in the history of naval warfare had faced a coordinated 3-axis simultaneous attack of this scale. They were correct. None had. What they had also never faced, and what the CMC's target planners had not fully accounted for, was what one looked like from the inside when it had been anticipated, pre-planned against, and was being met by a defensive and offensive architecture that had been specifically built, trained, and pre-authorized for exactly this scenario. They had made 6 catastrophic mistakes. The first mistake: the DF-21D firing sequence required a targeting solution, a precise, updated position of the carrier at the moment of launch and throughout the missile's 12-minute flight. That targeting solution required over-the-horizon radar data and satellite cueing from the PLA's Yaogan Maritime Surveillance Satellite constellation, which had been tracking the Reagan strike group's position continuously for 31 hours. What the CMC had not accounted for was that the Reagan's electronic warfare aircraft, 2 EA-18G Growlers that had been orbiting 60 miles southwest of the strike group since 8 a.m., had been running a classified spoofing program against the Yaogan constellation's downlink frequencies since 9:17 a.m. The position data flowing from the Yaogan satellites to the DF-21D targeting systems was not the Reagan's actual position. It was a position 4.3 miles northeast of the Reagan's actual location, a displacement calculated precisely to move the DF-21D's terminal homing acquisition zone away from the carrier's actual deck. The DF-21D's seeker head would be searching for a carrier deck that was 4 miles from where the carrier actually was when the warheads arrived. The second mistake: 12 DF-21D missiles was, in the CMC's assessment, double the number required to guarantee at least 3 impacts, accounting for SM-3 Block IIA intercept probability. The SM-3 Block IIA had a single-shot intercept probability against a maneuvering re-entry vehicle that the PLA's open-source analysis had placed at 41 to 47%, meaning that against 12 incoming warheads, even in an optimistic engagement scenario, 4 to 7 would be expected to penetrate. The assessment was based on the SM-3 Block IIA's published performance parameters. It was not based on the SM-3 Block IIA's classified performance in the upgraded software configuration that had been fielded across the Pacific Fleet Aegis Cruiser Force 14 months earlier. A configuration that had improved single-shot intercept probability against maneuvering re-entry vehicles to 68% in the upper tier, with a 3-shot engagement doctrine against high-value tracks. 3 SM-3 interceptors per DF-21D. 12 DF-21Ds, 36 SM-3 interceptors assigned through the CEC network before the first missile had completed its boost phase. The third mistake: the Eastern Theater Command's 18-ship surface fleet, steaming in battle line formation southwest of the Strait, had been under continuous surveillance since departing Zhoushan Naval Base 37 hours earlier. Every vessel had been classified, its position logged, its emissions signature cataloged. The P-8 Poseidon that had been orbiting at 26,000 feet 50 miles south of the strike group since 6 a.m. had continuous radar track on all 18 planned surface combatants. The strike package against the planned surface fleet had been pre-planned, pre-loaded onto weapons, and pre-briefed to the air crews of the 41F/A-18E and F/A-18F Super Hornets of Carrier Air Wing 5, who were at this moment either in the air or at 5-minute readiness on the Reagan's flight deck. The planned surface fleet was not approaching an alert reaction. It was approaching a pre-planned strike that was waiting only for the launch detection that would authorize its execution. The fourth mistake: the 2 JH-7A strike regiments approaching from the north, carrying YJ-83 anti-ship missiles, were flying at low altitude to stay below the E-2D's radar coverage floor. They had successfully maintained this profile for 22 minutes since departing Lianshan. At 10:19 a.m., 12 minutes before the DF-21D launch, the E-2D's APY-9 radar, operating in a surface clutter rejection mode that the JH-7A mission planners had not modeled in their approach profile, had acquired the formation at a range of 240 miles. The 8 F-35C Lightning IIs from Strike Fighter Squadron 147 had launched at 10:22 a.m., climbing northwest toward an intercept position. They were already between the JH-7A regiments and the Reagan strike group when the DF-21D salvo launched. The fifth mistake. The coordinated attack required precise timing synchronization across three separate commands: the PLA Rocket Force, the Eastern Theater Naval Command, and the PLA Naval Air Force Strike Regiments. That synchronization was transmitted through the Eastern Theater Command's encrypted operations network on a frequency that NSA collection assets had been reading for 11 months. The attack coordination signal, a final go code transmitted at 10:28 a.m. authorizing simultaneous execution, was intercepted and decrypted at Fort Meade and relayed to the Reagan strike group at 10:29 a.m. 2 minutes of additional warning time. 2 minutes in which the CEC engagement management system had already completed its final firing assignments. The F/A-18 crews had their target packages confirmed, and the F-35Cs had closed to within weapon release range of the JH-7A formation. The sixth mistake, the one that collapsed the entire strategic concept of the carrier-killer salvo as a decisive weapon, was a fundamental misunderstanding of what it meant to fire ballistic missiles at a carrier whose position data had been corrupted 4 miles northeast of her actual location. The DF-21D's maneuvering re-entry vehicle Seekerhead would search its acquisition zone. It would find nothing, because the acquisition zone was 4 miles from the ship. In the absence of a valid radar lock on a carrier deck, the DF-21D's terminal guidance defaulted to its pre-programmed impact point, the last known position fed to it before the targeting solution was corrupted. Those warheads would impact on empty water, and even the ones whose seekers might have acquired the real ship at the edge of their search cone would have to defeat 3 SM-3 interceptors each, fired from a platform whose performance parameters the PLA had not correctly assessed. What happened in the next 89 minutes was the most comprehensive single engagement destruction of a modern naval surface force in the history of sea warfare. At 10:31 a.m., the SBIRS satellite detected the first DF-21D boost phase from a firing position in Fujian province. Within 4 seconds, 11 additional boost phase signatures appeared as the full 12 missile salvo executed. The CEC network across all 14 strike group vessels processed the track simultaneously and distributed engagement assignments in 0.8 seconds. USS Chancellorsville and USS Antietam drew the primary SM-3 engagement assignments, 3 interceptors per track, fired at 4-second intervals to allow the first interceptor's result to be assessed before the second was committed. 22 SM-3 Block 2 and interceptors left their VLS cells in the first 90 seconds following launch detection, climbing toward the DF-21D re-entry vehicles in their exo-atmospheric cruise phase where their maneuvering capability was most constrained by the near-vacuum environment. The remaining 14 SM-3 interceptors in the 2-shot reserve sequence launched as the re-entry vehicles descended into the upper atmosphere. Of 12 DF-21D warheads, 9 were intercepted by SM-3 in the upper tier. 3 survived the first engagement layer and descended toward their programmed impact zones, 4 miles northeast of the Reagan's actual position. Their seeker heads activated at 15 kilometers altitude and searched their acquisition zones. 2 found empty water and impacted in the strait. 1 acquired a weak radar return at the edge of its search cone, a return consistent with a large surface vessel, and turned toward it. The return was USS Chancellorsville at the edge of the acquisition zone. The incoming warhead was engaged by Chancellorsville's SM-6 at 7 kilometers altitude and intercepted at 10:43 a.m. It impacted the sea 2 miles northeast of the Reagan strike group. No vessel sustained any impact. The Reagan's flight deck was never in danger. At 10:34 a.m., 3 minutes after the DF-21D launch, the Reagan began launching her strike package, 41 SAFO F/A, 18E, and ECF/A, 18FF. Super Hornets, armed with a combined load of 206 AGM-84 Harpoon anti-ship missiles and 88 AGM-154 joint standoff weapons, launched in continuous catapult sequence at the rate of 1 aircraft every 18 seconds. The first wave of 20 aircraft was airborne by 10:40 a.m. The second wave of 21 aircraft was airborne by 10:46 a.m. They turned southwest on pre-computed strike profiles toward the 18 planned warships that the P-8 had been tracking continuously. The planned surface fleet was 107 miles southwest of the Reagan's current position. At 540 knots, the strike aircraft would reach Harpoon release range in 11 minutes. In the north, the F-35Cs had reached their intercept position at 10:33 a.m. The two JH-7A regiments, 32 aircraft in total, carrying 2 YJ-83 missiles each, were at 64 miles when the F-35Cs went active with their APG-81 radars. The JH-7A formation immediately dispensed chaff and broke into individual aircraft defensive maneuvering, a response that scattered the tight attack formation, separated the aircraft, and critically disrupted the timing coordination required for their strike profiles against the Reagan. The F-35Cs engaged the lead elements with AIM-120D AMRAAMs from standoff range, 8 AIM-120Ds in the first salvo, 6 hits, 6 JH-7 as removed from the battle space in the first engagement pass. The surviving 26 JH-7A aircraft abandoned their attack profiles and turned northwest toward Nanchang. 2 additional F-35C engagement passes removed 8 more JH-7As during their egress. The remaining 18 returned to base carrying their full weapon load. 0 YJ-83 missiles released toward the Reagan strike group. At 10:51 a.m., the first wave of F/A-18s reached Harpoon release range against the planned surface fleet. The 2 Type 055 cruisers, Nanchang and Lhasa, each received 12 Harpoon impacts in a coordinated time-on-target sequence from 5 separate vectors. Both sustained catastrophic structural damage and were removed from the battle space by 10:53 a.m. The 8 Type 052D destroyers were engaged simultaneously. 6 removed from the battle space in the first strike wave. 2 re-engaged and removed by the second wave at 10:58 a.m. The remaining 8 planned frigates and support vessels were struck by JSOW glide weapons targeting propulsion and radar infrastructure. All 8 assessed as inoperable or combat ineffective. 2 that retained partial propulsion were tracked by MQ-4C Triton drones as they attempted to return to port. At 11:19 a.m., 48 minutes after the DF-21D launch, all 18 planned surface combatants were removed from the battle space or incapable of continued offensive operations. The pre-planned strike against PLA Rocket Force DF-21D infrastructure began executing simultaneously. From Kadena Air Base on Okinawa, 12 F-35As of the 18th Wing launched at 10:33 a.m., 2 minutes after the DF-21D launch detection, on strike profiles carrying JASSMER cruise missiles against the 3 DF-21D brigade firing positions in Fujian and Zhejiang that had launched the salvo. The firing positions, whose locations had been confirmed by NRO imagery 4 days before the attack, received 8 JASSMERs each in a sequenced strike pattern targeting the launcher erection equipment, the missile handling infrastructure, and the mobile command vehicles. All 3 firing positions were struck between 11:07 a.m. and 11:14 a.m. The remaining DF-21D transporter erector launchers at all 3 positions, assessed at between 4 and 6 vehicles each that had not participated in the initial salvo, were destroyed in place or rendered inoperable. From Andersen Air Force Base on Guam, 2 B-2 Spirits stealth bombers that had been airborne since 8 a.m., pre-positioned in anticipation of the high-confidence threat assessment that had been current for 6 days, were already inbound toward their assigned targets. The PLA Eastern Theater Command Headquarters facility at Nanjing and the Eastern Theater Naval Command Operations Center at Ningbo. The B-2s carried GBU-57 massive ordnance penetrators assigned to the hardened underground command modules at both facilities. The Nanjing facility was struck at 11:31 a.m. The Ningbo facility was struck at 11:44 a.m. Both assessed as permanently inoperable. By 12 p.m., 89 minutes after the first DF-21D left its launcher, the complete response package was executed. The final accounting was comprehensive. DF-21D warheads launched 12. Intercepted by SM-3 in upper tier 9. Reaching terminal phase with corrupted targeting data 3. 2 impacting empty water, 1 intercepted by SM-6. USS Ronald Reagan and all strike group vessels. 0 impacts, 0 damage. American personnel on any strike group vessel having sustained any injury, 0. Planned surface fleet. All 18 warships removed from the battle space or rendered incapable of offensive operations. Type 055 cruisers Nanchang and Lhasa, both removed from the battle space. Type 052D destroyers, all 8 removed from the battle space. Frigates and support vessels, all 8 assessed as inoperable or combat ineffective. JH-7, a strike aircraft, 14 of 32 removed from the battle space by F-35C engagements. 18 returned to Lianshan carrying full weapon load, having released 0 weapons. 0 YJ-83 missiles reached the Reagan strike group, DF-21. D Brigade firing positions neutralized, all 3. PLA Eastern Theater Command Headquarters, permanently inoperable. Eastern Theater Naval Command Operations Center, permanently inoperable. American aircraft lost 0. All FA-18s recovered aboard Reagan by 2:30 p.m. Both B-2s returned to Anderson. F-35As returned to Kadena. American service members having sustained any injury, 0. USS Ronald Reagan continued her northbound transit. She exited the strait's northern end at 3:47 p.m. and turned northeast toward Yokosuka. Her catapults launched and recovered aircraft throughout. In Beijing, the Central Military Commission convened at 1 p.m. The carrier killer weapon developed over 15 years, central to the PLA's strategy for denying American carrier access to the Western Pacific, had fired 12 missiles and achieved 0 impacts. The Eastern Theater surface fleet was on the seafloor, or drifting inoperable. The command infrastructure was rubble. The Taiwan Strait was open. The Reagan was sailing through it. This is what happens when you fire the carrier killer at a carrier whose position data was moved 4 miles northeast by an electronic warfare aircraft your targeting analysts did not account for. This is what happens when your 12-missile salvo is pre-assigned to 36 interceptors before the boost phase is complete. Your surface fleet engaged by a pre-planned strike the moment your launch is detected, and your strike aircraft break formation before releasing a single weapon, because the F-35Cs were already at their intercept position. USS Ronald Reagan is sailing north. She will be back.